What are some early signs of burnout? Every little thing irritates you in your daily life. When my burnout was reaching its apex, I was flying off the handle at the tiniest little things. Especially when driving. If someone didn't handle a turn right or was going just slightly slower than me, I would go into a rage because they were wasting my minutes of life. I had a job where I was paid down to the tenths of an hour. And had to fight for every tenth. When you're constantly watching the clock and trying to get as many jobs in per day as possible, it bleeds over into the rest of your life. Apathy. Apathy towards work and things that used to motivate you to drive your career forward. Eventually you accept that work is your life and you just don't care. At that point you burned out. Edit. Don't let your company guilt you about using your PTO or sick time. That's time that you've paid for and earned. Use it. Don't feel guilty to use a sick day for your mental health. Your company will replace you quickly after you leave and you deserve to use the time you've earned from them. This is where I am with work right now. I work in a sign shop and I used to care if people got their orders on time because it was all me. Design. Build. Install. Now after working for someone else for 11 years with 400% more work and it's still all me, I can't possibly keep up. Boss won't hire help, so I guess people just have to wait or go somewhere else and I don't f***ing care anymore. Lost a job because we can't get it done in time? Not my problem. Shit. I price things 300% higher than they should be just to either scare the customer away or make it over the top worth it if they do decide to go with us. Sorry for the long rant, but this hit home with me today. My manager has been refusing PTO like crazy. I wanted to take a week off to see my baby niece in December and of course it was refused. I currently have 300 hours of PTO, so guess who is gonna have blood sugar issues that month? I think if you are apathetic, you are already burned out. When you miss out on things that used to be important, like spending time with family and friends because of work, or even just things that you used to enjoy, your family can burn you out too. I have been burned out plenty of times working in mental health. Picking up extra shifts. Not advocating for myself, it can be hard when you have bills to pay. It's been my tactic. At my last job, bad periods would come in waves. And they increasingly seemed to get worse. I finally had enough and started applying. Then I got a few rejections. Things lightened up. And I thought, well, I can tough it out a little longer. And I stopped. Things were fine for a few months. But the thing about burnout is that you never quite recover. And I went into the next wave weaker than before, and midway through I really realized my mistake. I started applying. And applying. And applying. I was miserable. Burned out. Snapping at people. And nothing was happening. Things lightened up. And I reminded myself of last time. Sure. It got better last time. And maybe this time. But what about next time? It took 8 months and about 250 applications. But I finally found another job. Since then, it's been a rule of mine that while I'm not going to just go running off into the night as soon as I'm noticing I'm less than happy than I was, but I do start making plans and gauging the market for what I need to do in order to make an escape. This year COVID has helped a lot. I've gotten 2 IT certifications and have a third on the way. Hopefully this month. From my experience, not getting mad anymore. Not being able to make a decision. Even as simple as what to get for lunch. Desperately wanting to take a nap. Especially at the most inconvenient time. Missing time. I don't remember taking some classes. Thinking that getting an injury would be nice. I could stop working for a while. Edit. Please get some help if you think you're suffering from a burnout. It's an insidious condition and it can take a long time to recover. Your mental health is more important than a job. When you begin to dread doing a task that you at one time took delight in doing. This is me playing video games ATM. I got like 10 great single player games on my backlog, and plenty of online multiplayer games to play like League of Legends, Dead by Daylight, Dota 2, Overwatch, FF14 etc, and plenty of time to play any one of them I chose. But I'll pick one and I turn it off in about 15 minutes because I'm bored and not having any fun at all. Then I'll just say FCK it and take a nap. It isn't that I'm sleepy, it's that I just don't want to be awake tbh. The last game I played and truly enjoyed was Disco Elysium, but I played and beat it almost like a year ago. Common. Lack of enthusiasm. Tardiness. Poor attitude or just unhappy demeanor. Less obvious. Sudden heavy need for guidance. More focus on completion than quality. Sudden increase in sick days, specifically sick days. Not so much vacation or planned days. Decrease in communication in general. More focus on completion than quality. Yeah, I feel that. When you have a big project or whatever and you kind of mentally check out for the period of time you're gonna be working on it and focus on just getting through it. If you're a student with an assignment, it usually looks like just making sure you've done enough to meet the required standards and not really bothering if it's a high quality piece of work. Sudden heavy need for guidance. I think just brain fog in general. Like when I started getting burned out. My mind occasionally got so muddled it felt like you had early onset dementia or something. You forget stuff that you know. Things you know how to do and it feels terrible cause you know what to do but your brain doesn't want to kick into gear and do it. For me it was the lack of a desire to get out of bed. I didn't want to go to that job and sleep sounded better. That led to irritability and then to write-ups. Ultimately left the job because of it. For me. I couldn't even go to sleep at night knowing that I would just have to go to work when I wake up. Had to pump myself full of melatonin and force myself to fall asleep so I wouldn't be a zombie at work. My drive to work every day would consist of nothing but me looking forward to getting off work. Irritability. Yes. I was really getting burned out at my job after 6 years. My whole mood changed and I know my boss could tell. I felt bad cause he was a great boss man. I ended up leaving 2 years later to start a family. But those last 2 years were really hard. You start having to convince yourself to do things you used to enjoy. You sleep either much more or much less. People you used to like annoy the piss out of you. You look for more ways to escape. Sometimes with mindless hobbies. Sometimes just maladaptive daydreaming. And it gets hard to get excited about anything. I want to add to this with a really early sign that you are going to burn out. The lack of doing unrelated things that you enjoy. When you come home and just don't do anything and just mindlessly look at the TV or your phone and then go to bed. You gotta actually step back and do something else that you enjoy or you will burn out. Hobbies and daydreaming are the only things I ever give a FCK about anymore. If I'm not working in my garden, hobby, or fantasizing about what I'd be doing right now if I had won the lottery, daydreaming, then I'm probably bored, irritated or just plain miserable. Everything except my narrow range of hobbies and my selection of recurring daydreams is just more bullshit I have to slog through if I don't wanna see my daily living situation get any worse. You know when you are working and frustrated and someone comes over and tell you, "Are you alright?" And you just cry. This happened to me earlier this year. The first couple months of the year were especially rough for everyone at my job. We were all really stressed and overworked. I was working late most nights on salary. So no overtime. One time I went out into the hallway to walk around for a few minutes and clear my head. A coworker asked me if I was okay and I just instantly started crying. We weren't friends even. But I just broke down. She was really sweet though and sat with me for a minute. And didn't bring it up again to make me feel weird about it after. So, since when I was looking into burnout, which led to me discovering I have both anxiety and depression, medically diagnosed. Not just me googling and convincing myself. And depression can sometimes be a cause of burnout. What led me to see my doctor was this. Irritable. All the time. Work. Home. All of it. Tired. Most nights. I'd sleep 6-7 hours. Wake up 2-3 times. Never rested. Lack of appetite. Even now. It takes forever for me to get hungry. Increase in drinking. Lack of focus. Or over focusing on anything. I would zone out autopilot for an hour easily. Lack of joy from anything. So if you're seeing one or more of those in yourself, please see your doctor. It's not easy admitting it, but they can help. Out of nowhere pure hatred wells up for your colleague. Low to no motivation to work. I had a really bad burnout 2 years back. Would stare at the screen for hours without wanting to work. Everything irritates you. Stresses you out. You tend to procrastinate at the smallest of tasks. There is this constant urge to just run away. Also there is this feeling of isolation. And low self-esteem and confidence. Always feeling a bit tired and drained. It started becoming more and more difficult to get out of bed in the morning despite getting plenty of sleep. It just became a very physically demanding thing to do. Eventually I wouldn't always wake up to the alarm clock. Just sleeping straight through 80 dB. That's when I started to figure out something ain't right. Yikes. All of these signs just sound like everyday life. We probably live in one of the most conducive environments for stress and anxiety. The 24 hours news cycle. Demands of our jobs. Our constantly busy world. Unrealistic expectations from everyone around you. Not saying we should go back to a time before we had this fast-paced industrialized world. But we need to find a way to keep this standard of life while giving the whole work yourself either to the bone or to death mentality the boot. If you're driving to work, and you catch yourself looking at the oncoming lane searching for the perfect semi to drive headfirst into, that's an early sign of burnout. Remember, folks, being unemployed is better than being a smear on the pavement. Smoke and the smell of burnt rubber. Did you even read the question? That's an after effect of burnout. An early sign would be the sound of an engine revving. Wanting to be alone all the time. Yet that's me. I actually dread seeing texts from friends cause I know then I'll be obliged to go out and do something. When all I want to do is sit around and play a video game or knock out some studying so I don't feel so damn anxious. Or do some cleaning around the apartment. Those latter two things are still exhausting though, but it's not like I can just quit. And playing games is fun until I get to a difficult part and I start getting pissed. And I know that at the end of most days I have to go to work, where I'm expected to do more than the competition's workers but get paid less. Even a simple 3-hour shift at the end of the day tires me out. When you pull into work and say to yourself, fuck, the place hasn't burned down yet. Was a nurse. When I walked into work and said live or die I still get paid the same, it was time to go. Was wondering if another nurse had posted this response. I worked in surgery for 12 years and thought the same thing many times. I no longer work in patient care and it's not as bad. You left work when the pandemic started because the first case of COVID in your state was in your mother's office building. You were pretty sure this would all be cleared up by June and you would return to work. Business as normal. It's now October and somewhere around August you decided that you just weren't going back. 10 grand left in your savings and you're picking up handyman gigs to pay the bills because your place of business is very high traffic and you have autoimmune disease. Somewhere in there I had a lot of time to read because I wasn't so busy working my life away, and the conclusion I came to was I live in a country that does not give a FCK about me or anyone else for that matter. It's a pyramid scam. I don't care anymore. I'm doing me now. For me, burnout correlates with other things such as stress, anxiety and depression. So the symptoms and signs kind of intertwine. So speaking from personal experience, my signs of burnout are constant tiredness, lethargy, but also often struggling to go to sleep, difficulty focusing on tasks, lacking motivation to do anything, back and neck pain, skin breakouts, forgetting to do everyday things, eat, shower, take medication, losing my sense of time and place, and sometimes reality, zoning out for hours not knowing what time it is or how I got somewhere, being disinterested in, or lacking patience for, my friends and family. So basically, I become an insufferable bitch. Lethargy. A desire to do nothing every weekend because you don't have the energy. Never feeling rested. Irritability over lots of stupid, small things. Severe, mini depressive episodes when you get to Sunday night. Not wanting to sleep because it gets you to the morning faster. Being overwhelmed, especially by simple tasks that you used to be able to accomplish easily. For example, your inbox at work may take twice as long to get through, or you may not be able to do it at all, and each email seems daunting. Personally, when I was burned out, I wasn't very articulate and I'd just stare at the most simple requests in my inbox. I'd feel as though I had done 60 hours worth of work, and sometimes I would truly put in 60-70 hours a week, but my productivity was nil. If you have to question whether you are burned out, most likely you are. The WHO officially recognized it as a condition and it has been added to the latest revision of ICD-11. Hopefully this helps people realize it's very real and it's okay to get help. From personal experience. Quick to anger over stupid crap that don't mean shit. Constant feeling of sadness. Depression level sadness. Trouble sleeping and getting up on the morning. Crying on your way to from work. I personally prefer to wait until I'm home. Heart palpitations and or racing heart so bad your pulse is up when resting and it interfere with your sleep. Lot of appetite. Stop making lunches, dinners or extremely simple just for fuel so you don't faint. Starting to forget things you do every day. Normal tasks take longer and your energy is low. Body pain. This is only my own personal experience though. People react different to this. When you finally get some time to yourself and you sit down and do nothing. A day of opportunity comes and goes and you slouched with the TV on not even paying attention. The feeling of just keeping your head above the water. You survived today. And it was rough. So rough you can't enjoy anything. And you dread waking up tomorrow to do it again. On your days off. You don't want to do anything like cleaning your house. Going out with friends. Doing yard work. You either just want to sleep or lay on the couch and do something like watch TV, which takes little effort. Eventually you start thinking that life is dull. You don't like your job and wish you were on vacation or something happened so you could miss work for a couple days. No matter how much sleep you get. You just tired. I've been there twice. It's not fun at all. Okay, maybe I might be burned out based on the responses lol. Also thanks for the cake day wishes. Close bracket. Feeling blah about things. Not wanting to do anything. Finding no fun in anything. Feeling unknown pressure. When you began feeling like you're wasting time doing something. Like a sense of guilt and you are asking yourself whether you really want to continue doing something. Exhaustion. Not sleeping. Not caring. Chronic irritability. Fantasizing about a different job. Feeling ineffective. Been there. Hi. I'm currently off work, UK ambulance service, for burnout. My main symptoms were irrational irritability and anger, apathy, difficulty getting to sleep, staying asleep, losing weight. Take a break from what you're getting burned out with if you can. Talk to someone. Be it a friend, colleague, spouse or your doctor. Hell. Drop me a message if you want to talk. Help is out there. Your motivation to help others decline rapidly. You start to hate the things you once enjoyed. People that once made you smile. Just seeing them smile makes you want to smash their teeth in. You can care less if you hit goals or not. Here's one that gets mentioned less often. When you start to feel burnt out, you will also lose your will to fight back against the thing that's causing you stress fatigue. You begin to wonder whether this is just normal for everyone and you doubt the validity of your own tiredness. Maybe I'm just overreacting? And as a result you may even slightly resent the people around you trying to help. Like if your partner or friends tell you to take a break, you may feel annoyed because it's not that simple or that I have a responsibility to continue. This is the most dangerous thing, I think. You will begin to normalize the burnout, which is how it will get to the stage where you actually cause harm to yourself physically or mentally. Was an essential worker until late August before I quit out of complete exhaustion. Signs included. So crying every morning before work. And every evening after work that I had to work the next day. So horrible sleep, so being angry at everything, so wishing that I or someone in my household would get COVID so I could get 2 weeks of PTO. I knew it was time to quit when I just wondered what the point of even being alive anymore was. You spend more time procrastinating rather than doing the thing that you love. That's the early signs of a burnout. But the more severe it is, the lesser the chance you would ever enjoy it ever again. The passion you currently hold right now just becomes something you once knew. Just a distant memory of the past. So please, take a break once in a while. Even a 10-minute rest is better than a perpetual torment of being unable to do things you used to love. For me it was just anger. Lots of anger. I was very easily triggered into yelling. I couldn't actually deal with anything, so I just ran away from it or avoided it until it couldn't be avoided anymore. Also, I noticed I needed a lot more time to recover mentally and physically from work and sports. My body was constantly in pain and I never had enough time to rest. Depression set in as well. My libido died off. I was emotionally cold. I didn't care if I got injured or something like that. My relationship started to crumble. I basically fled into solidarity. It took me well over 2 years to recover and it changed me completely. FCK that shit. FCK burnout. Irritability. Not feeling rested after sleep. Change in appetite. Trouble staying focused. Less attention to detail than you normally would have. Others' behavior and actions, or lack thereof, affecting you more than usual. Starting to not give a f. Frustration. Depression. And anxiety, feeling constantly stressed out. Feelings of hopelessness and despair. Complemented by disturbed sleep. Nightmares. And insomnia. Leading to crappy diet and self-medication until ultimately your body is cranking out so much cortisol and adrenaline that you develop a nasty personality and handful of autoimmune issues that eventually cost you your wife, house, pets, car, and job. I got burnout bad at a previous job. I used to have to take a 1-hour train to get to work. When I first started, I would spend that time playing games on my phone, finding new music or grading papers. But over time my train rides became more robotic. I would spend more and more time basically catatonic, just staring into space. Eventually I became numb during the entire train ride. The numbness gradually crept through my life until I felt no joy, emotion, sadness or anything at all. Even when doing the things I loved most. Sometimes after I'd get home I found myself zoned out staring at the wall for 20-30 minutes at a time without realizing. Now I've learned to recognize that numb feeling. I know that when that happens I have to give my body time to rest. Overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Look out for headache in specific areas and try to get rest and sleep. Treat yourself and then go on once you feel good. Some early signs of burnout. 1. Exhaustion. 2. Lack of motivation. 3. Frustration, cynicism and other negative emotions. 4. Cognitive problems. 5. Slipping job performance. 6. Interpersonal problems at home and at work. For me it was joking that I was going to go play in traffic. Everyone would usually just laugh it off, but one day a co-worker asked me if I was okay, and that's when I realized I wasn't okay. I had started saying it as a way to express frustration without actually whining about a client. I hadn't realized until forced to actually think about it, but the suicidal undertone had become slightly appealing. That's the problem with burnout. Don't really like the term. Sometimes it pretty much comes overnight. But if you are struggling with everyday work, or if you don't really enjoy doing stuff anymore, that can be some signs. If you can afford it, or if you are living in a country with public healthcare, you should really consider seeing a doctor or going to therapy. It's the best way out of it. If that's not an option for you, try to take it easy on yourself. The most destructive mindset is, this has to work. It always worked. This is an easy task. But that could actually not be true. If it's really hard for you to go to a grocery store, it's obviously not an easy task. At least not for you. I'm supposed to be working from home, but I just can't get myself to do any work. Even the most simple tasks feels like going to the dentist. Thinking about ways I can get disability so I wouldn't have to work anymore. And don't get me wrong, I have an excellent job that many can only dream of. Pays very well. The company treats its employees very well. I love what I do. Sounds like a dream job, and yet I'm risking losing it because I can't bring myself to do the work. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something just for fun or something creative? Any hobbies you just stopped doing? Did seeing friends become more of a chore? These might be signals of you entering the tunnel vision that comes with burnout. When you start adding fun to your to-do list. Oh, I have 32 minutes today to do X thing that I used to love and didn't need to be prompted to do in the past. Whoopee. Then you go on and don't enjoy it one bit because you'd rather be asleep. On that note, cynicism. Everything already sucked. But now everything sucks a little extra and you're no longer immune to it getting to you. It taking a longer time when you have time off to get back to being centered. To being relaxed. To being in tune with yourself. To wanting to spend quality time with other people. To working on personal projects. Within the workplace? And X200B. Demonstrable decline in the performance of organizational citizenship behaviors, increased delinquency in attendance, reductions in productivity, increased perception of stress, increased friction within the home, increased turnover in tension, decreased organizational commitment, increased frustration and reduced enthusiasm. And X200B. So you can see why effective leaders do their best to create a workplace in which burnout is reduced. Since these factors lead to declines in organizational performance. Dread and apathy. Physiological changes. After 6 months in a toxic environment, I started throwing up for 8 hours straight every weekend. Happened 6 times in a row with no medical explanation. After numerous tests. Went away the week I handed in my resignation. Never before or since. When you are deep in so many things and yet nothing is getting done. Or the few things that are complete are at a quality level that you normally would never accept. Perhaps even making you cringe. In caring fields. Compassion fatigue. When it becomes harder for you to care about the people you're caring for. Your ability to feel empathy gets dulled by frustration and the beginnings of burnout. Maybe you're more likely to think to yourself, oh, come on. They can do this or they're faking it. Maybe you make more and more jokes with your co-workers about clients' patients that become more callous. If you notice this, take a vacation. Change settings. Change populations. You're no good to the people you serve if you can't care for them compassionately, and certainly not if you burn out completely. Source. Worked in long-term care facilities for 10 years. I'm now clinical social worker. I'm burned out. Like many construction foremen. It is difficult to get time off. You think you will when this project ends, but before it does you're starting the next one. My last time off was the week before my daughter's wedding. All prep for wedding and guests staying with me. 2 years ago. I start to hate my job. I show up and just wanna go back home. I can't stay focused. I don't sleep for anxiety about the following day. I'm burned out. You feel trapped. Every day feels the same. It's like Groundhog Day, only without any potential for fun. You're exhausted. And you find it hard to be carefree. Your loved ones may notice that you aren't yourself anymore. You certainly will. But the question is, what are you willing to do? For me, it's a sign that I ought to start looking for another job. Inability to focus and procrastination. By my senior year of my physics degree, I could not bring myself to study anymore, no matter how little I prepared for an exam. I went from being able to study for 2-3 days straight with 4.0 GPA to not being able to study for more than an hour or so, no matter how much time I set aside, and failing multiple exams. Still recovering from the burnout, and I graduated 6 years ago. For me, it can be pretty obvious. Wanting to call in sick every other day despite working a job you have previously enjoyed, cared about. Cancelling social plans or making social plans less. Having a difficult time with easy decisions, what to eat, what shoes to wear, etc. Close bracket. The biggest for me though is how my space looks. If it's messy in my apartment or if I haven't cleaned in a while. Usually I'm falling apart inside. How about some ways to take care of yourself when you're burnt out? Take a few days off if you have any PTO. Make your environment comfortable. Do things for you. Sounds dumb and hard to do. But like I took yesterday off and literally painted for 7 hours. Do things for someone else. Also sounds dumb. But I ended up giving my painting to a good friend once it was done and their reaction to it changed my mood significantly. Self-care. Shower. Eat something healthy. Go for a walk outside and breathe fresh air. Clean your house room. As Doctor Who spent the last 6 months working through a pandemic in a country that didn't support us. Through significant pay cuts. Our reductions and being given N95 masks of questionable integrity that oddly smell like formaldehyde on the front lines? I don't even know. I want to switch careers even though I spent the last 12-13 years dedicated to medicine and becoming a doctor, but I have 6 figures of debt to pay off from medical education. I don't even have the slightest idea to fix this type of burnout. Edit. Reading through all these posts and surprisingly reinforce the fact that I, as well as every doctor in the ER I work with, is completely burnt out after COVID in the US. It makes me frankly want to vomit. I hope something changes soon. I found that when I started to get burned out I would always want to go to a restaurant bar and get a few drinks with my hubby and complain about everyone who was getting on my nerves at work. We went through a ton of money doing that. This is a pretty individual thing. All the above answers are true for some people. For me, I know something's wrong when I start forgetting my keys, phone, wallet, etc. Forgetting little things. It's time to take a break and reevaluate. I think there's a special type of brain fatigue where it feels like you're always tired but you're not. You may be stressed or fed up. I find the experience half unconscious as you may have I should leave thoughts, but I did not until a year later when shit really hit the fan. Irritability of course too. Judging your colleagues more. Don't become a Gordon Ramsay. My guys once told me I started to run the workshop like Gordon Ramsay runs his kitchen. Picking them up for every little fault. It wasn't them. It was me. Absolutely FK'd after years of striving for perfection. Took a month off and led them to it. Nothing changed in productivity. Absolutely nothing, but all the staff's mental health improved. The business runs this way to this day. I was a burnt out DCK head. Line lock and in a car with a small block Chevy. You'll notice the brake lights flicker just before the burnout starts. Also the smell of burning rubber and sound of screeching tires is a dead giveaway. Procrastination. I used to be on top of things. Before I'd have errands or tasks mapped in my head so I'd be able to get things done in a short time with minimum effort. Like my dad always said, work smarter not harder. But having to do everything for years while my partner just sits there and waits for me, among other stressful things that's happened in my life, I got burned out. So now I throw things aside cause I don't want to deal with it. And I sleep a lot now. When I was in my first year of teaching, I found myself secretly hoping that I would get into a car crash or something on my way to work so I would be able to have some time off and not have to go in. So that's definitely a sign of burnout. Not being able to think. The times I've been burned out, I make mistakes that I would never usually make. It gets much harder to make decisions and think things through to completion. After a long period of burnout, my background thoughts and mood can turn very dark. Not finding happiness in anything. I hit burnout full on a few years ago. Nothing made me happy. None of my pastimes gave me joy. Not my family. Not things that should make any normal human being happy. Even Christmas was a mess. Also, when I started dreading Monday. When I was at peak burnout. I was dreading Monday morning as I was walking out of the office on Friday. Edit. I've since changed jobs and my life is radically different. Happy to talk to anybody via PM about their burnout. In my experience as a line cook, extreme irritability. I would flip out on people over tiny things, feeling depressed. Not wanting to talk to anyone. Anxiety, your body giving you physical symptoms that result from stress such as body pains, headaches, nausea, feelings of dread walking into work every day, apathy, not even caring that I'm late for work, developing dependency. For me, I was coping by drinking huge amounts of caffeine every day. I left that job in the culinary field and took some time off. Went back to college while working as a server now. I made a recovery and I'm happy about the direction my life is in now. It depends on the type of burnout. In one direction, apathy is a sign. When you stop caring as much, you're headed for a burnout situation. In the other direction, anxiety and pain, chest pain, constant migraines, etc. can be an indicator. You can only take pain for so long, sadly. You never really get used to it if it is severe enough. I started getting severe chest pains in 2015. My job was horribly stressful and I felt like the fate of the business was on my shoulders. Things got worse until I broke in 2017. I wound up in the hospital multiple times. Overworked. Not sleeping. Life was falling apart. I hit a total burnout situation. I didn't care what I said or who I said it to. Take time for you. You need it. And you deserve it. Draw the line between just enough and too much. Don't put up with abuse in any form. Find and maintain a balance. There have been a lot of comments about no job's worth your mental health. But I'm hearing that a lot from a lot of different people. It seems that good jobs where you get reasonable amounts of work and leadership cares are few and far between. It's really hard to stop giving flying fucks for a lot of people. And changing jobs can often be just giving up the devil you know for one you don't, with less seniority. I think the answer is to give less fucks. But if somebody can figure out how to do that, can you let me know? Brain fog. I'd sit at the PC and after years of stress from insane deadlines, it just didn't matter how much I wanted to do the work. I would have this hazy fog with a weird physical pressure on top near my forehead and I would just zombie stare into the PC for 15-20 minutes before being able to shake myself out of it and get to work. This would happen infrequently at first, then several times per day. Your body will tell you. Spots, mouth ulcers, back pain, other muscle tension, getting ill easily, reduced immune system. People don't listen to their bodies nearly enough. 9-5s are truly hell. I remember waking up at 6:30 to catch a 7:30 train every morning to make it to work for 8:30. By the time I was done work at around 5:30, I'd catch the train to go home and wouldn't be home till 7:00. It gets especially depressing when you get home in the winter and it's already nighttime outside. It made me question every day about life and why it's like this for the majority of people. For me, burnout goes almost hand in hand with depression. My depression meter is how long it takes for me to put away clean laundry. Put it away as soon as it's out of the dryer. Mental health equals stable. No obvious signs of burnout. Clean laundry turns into a mixed pile with dirty laundry over the course of 2 weeks until my floor is a giant pile of questionably clean clothes. Mental health equals unstable. Need to re-evaluate things. Try and find source of burnout. Dark black marks that transition to streaks and or wavy lines. Fading just feet from its beginning. These marks may be found at traffic intersections. Just going through the motions even with stuff you used to be passionate about, being tired, exhausted all the time for no real reason, irritability. Snapping on people for really small things that shouldn't matter, calling in sick a lot. Or being late to work consistently, losing interest in hobbies, just going to sleep after work and doing nothing else. Source. Has happened to me. When you forget when you laughed authentically last time. When you put an act on but really don't want to. Apathy. You want to escape. When you want to be left alone and sleep more. Weird thoughts popping when you see a tractor trailer slowly turning or driving and you want to jump under it, or when you look down from some height and you get this weird call to jump. I'm usually surprised and never act upon it but get shivers and it creeps me out. Becoming out of touch with the experiences and attitudes of people entering your workplace as new hires. Developing anxiety over time. Just going through this, and for me it was being tired all the time and could never leave the stress of my job at my job. I was working very hard on something I loved but should have known there would be a cost to giving up my after work hours and weekends to finish it. I let that mode of work carry on to the next project and it spiraled out of control from there to the point I have made myself physically ill. Aches and soreness. Even if your burnout is emotional mental, it can still have physical effects on your body. Sometimes people kind of tremble or feel really sore when they are burnt out. Hey. For me it was stressing about things that didn't stress you out before. And then getting mad at yourself about it. Also, I used to be pretty confident but I started doubting myself more and more. And I felt stuck in a way that's hard to describe. If you're in doubt, definitely talk to your doctor. BC, it's so much better to start taking action now than it is to wait until even the thought of working sends you into a panic attack. Good luck. You'll get through this. Less than 3. I'm a tiny bit burnt out right now. It happens to me whenever we are understaffed and I feel overworked. These are my signs. Feeling like you are the only one working. All of your co-workers are slack and have a not my job attitude. I have great co-workers. But when things are going to shit, it makes me feel like that. Close bracket. Irritability with your clients. Every stupid thing they do is magnified by 1000x. Clock watching. Counting down the minutes until lunch or the end of the day. As someone who has recently recovered from burnout, my personal experience was really bad lower back pain which I needed a brace for. I thought I was allergic to the brace because I was getting a rash where I wearing the brace. But it turned out to be shingles, which is a big sign of burnout. And I had a blister on my leg become seriously infected. It became really difficult to listen to my body. Work was impossible and the smallest stress or hiccup, think opening the wrong document, would put you over the edge. My doctor also said diet plays a huge role and having 3 healthy meals a day is very important as well. Only doing as much as you have to. Stephen King once wrote an anecdote about his son, Owen, who wanted to learn the saxophone when he was a teen. So King bought him one. Owen's instructor told him to practice for an hour a day, 5 days a week. After a few months, King realized his son had lost interest when he noticed he only used the saxophone during that hour of practice each day. King says if you truly enjoy doing something, you'll do it even when you don't have to. I believe someone is starting to burn out on something when they're only doing the bare minimum needed to accomplish a task, pay the bills, fulfill a requirement, etc.